The genesis of this project begins with my grandfather, my mother's father, who emigrated from Italy. He told me that he saw Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. That thought was, I held in the back of my mind for a long time. At the time I was working on my first book, and it was a biography of Buffalo Bill. The Western itself was always of interest to me. The earliest memory for me was The Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger kind of represents me in a way throughout the book because it represents the popular culture that I grew up with. Westerns were huge on television, and at some point in the 60s, when the Western was reinvented by Ciardiello Leone, that was a whole different type of Western, and that really caught my attention. Traditional Westerns, it was pretty clear. You had your good guys, you had your bad guys, and whatever events took place were resolved in the hour or half hour of the show. And the movies, you know, on a grander scale, but a similar type of thing. The Italian Westerns, their take on it was just very different. It was not clear that anybody was good. I mean, the good guys were also pretty bad, and the bad guys were even worse. You're watching something this is a different take, and it was a very European take on the whole genre. Being an Italian American, there are things you pick up on. There's a certain sensibility that's particularly Italian. I spent years taking notes, and little by little I accumulated a ton of information and started drawing, you know, maybe about 5 years ago when I really began drawing with the idea that this could hopefully be a book at some point. In working on these drawings, I tried to figure out how to incorporate some of my own personal story into this. The most impressionable time for me growing up was probably the early 60s, and events that would happen at that, you know, like the Kennedy assassination, the Oswald shooting, which I have a drawing of in the book because I'm watching that on television. It seemed everything took place on television, but also figures like the Rat Pack and other characters that would pop up, the most famous being the public service announcement of the crying Indian, an environmental PSA. And of course, that guy, he was an Italian, who lived his life as a Native American, oddly enough. It's really my story in drawings. This is something that I needed to get out there. It incorporates a lot of my personal interests and drawing subject matter that I like to draw. I'm hoping that people will be able to see that in the book.